If you are not willing to get better than you are now, but you want more than you want now in income and opportunities, there's a huge misalignment.
There's a gap between where you are and where you want to be, and that's okay. As soon as that gap gets revealed, you've got to be hungry enough to do something about it.
A players are tigers.
Okay.
Think about a tiger. A tiger doesn't need to be told what to do. If a tiger just finished eating and a bunny walks by, he's batting the bunny down. It's instinct. He's got to kill.
Well, welcome to the Average Suck Show. Super excited for today's episode, and here's why. Today, we're going to be focusing on the entrepreneur and on the team that helps the entrepreneur grow. And the biggest reason I'm excited about this, the gentleman that I have on the show today has become a very dear friend over the last several years. And how we met, we're going to get into a little bit on the show because we both have our own remembrance of how that worked. And the coolest part about it is the fact that if you're an entrepreneur and you've got big visions, big dreams, and things that you want to do with your company, the difference between you getting it to where you want it to be and where it's at right now has a lot to do with how powerful your team is. So whether you're an entrepreneur listening or you're helping an entrepreneur run their company, this is going to be a major win because Mike Arce, who you're about to meet, is an absolute amazing mentor and a leader in the space of taking entrepreneurs and showing them how to run their company. He's got a background with health and fitness, a background as a martial artist, and is a champion at that as well. And one of the coolest things about it is runs a company called Loud Rumor, and it's very, very loud. And what it is it's taken a space, a business, a group of businesses, gyms, which a lot of times, are really run on hard work and push and grow, and showed them how to live incredible lives and get them to grow. So he's an author and he's a leader. He is an incredible father. He's an incredible husband. He's been an incredible friend. And the coolest part about it is he's going to show you today, which I know I'm going to pick this out of him today, how to run your life and your business in a way that you create more A players in your life and you could finally be the A player you're capable of being. So all that to say, welcome, brother. Glad you're on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Super excited to have you, man.
Like long overdue.
We have
talked about it.
Threatened about this.
Yeah.
I know originally, I think Cameron Harold's how we originally met.
Yeah. No, well,
it was
either him or I remember I met you like where we really talked.
Yep.
I was with a needle in my arm,
yes.
if you remember, getting IV.
Now we're talking New Jersey, needle in the arm.
Not New Jersey.
Yeah, your daughter's here. Make sure we get this right.
It was a health circle.
Yep.
And it was like a cigar shop for health freaks.
Yep.
But
with no cigars.
They're putting vitamins in my arm. I can't remember what the vitamins were, but I was told it's like really good for you. And all of a sudden you walk in and you're like, Michael. And I was like, yeah. And we kind of met before.
Yep.
And the next thing you know, you sat down next to me and we basically hung out with needles in our arms for about an hour.
Yep.
And that's where the relationship, I think, really began.
So if you do want to meet somebody, get ahead, find something they like, which is health, and make it a little painful. Put a needle in the arm.
Easy.
That was a good session. I remember it was 2020. Everybody was staying healthy. Joe Polish, I believe, had set up that whole little meeting. So between Cameron and Joe, we're here today. And I got excited about this for a couple of reasons. When you reached out to a team, I've been wanting to get you on the show because I want to share what you do. And I'm enamored by it. And the reason why is the gym world. I just want to start with that for a second. Is your background in fitness? I know martial arts, but how did you get to picking that niche of gyms? Because you could help any business with anything.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Well, like you, I was in martial arts too.
Yep.
I was always an athlete. And then when I graduated high school, I moved to Arizona like immediately after. So on my birthday's in July. Yep. And I moved here on my 18th birthday. And, I wasn't good enough to, play basketball in college, at least at the level that I wanted to play.
Was that your sport?
That was my sport in high school. But I did want to still keep active. My uncle was 2-time world champion and 7-time state champion martial arts. And
which modality? Which martial art?
Mainly Taekwondo, but he did MMA. He did
a bunch
of
really?
Stuff. Yeah.
You never told me that.
Yeah.
Right.
And so he just decided he was going to start coaching people and go off on his own. And so I came right at that moment. So I think he combined with loving me, he and I had a great relationship. With also his ego, he wanted to be able to make a name for himself as an instructor. I was training with him like 3-4 hours a day.
Wow.
And so
you're in Arizona.
Yeah, like we were just training all the time, and I didn't know anybody. I had nothing else to do, and so we trained. My cousin actually trained with him, and I ended up getting 2-time state champ in martial arts as well. Yep, and that was
after high school.
After high school, yeah.
Wow.
He had me training with black belts as a yellow belt. I was getting my face kicked in. Literally, I had my face kicked to the point where I blacked out and know what happened. He was like, it happens, get back in there. So he really fast forwarded me. But there was a point where, like 20 years old, I started noticing that the people I was fighting started getting significantly different bodies. Like, it went from teenage body to like men body. And I was still pretty thin. So I knew I needed to eat. I was 130 pounds.
You?
100, yeah, 100.
Okay.
I'm 170 now for reference. And I had no body fat on me. At least now I got body fat. So I was like, all right, I need to figure out how to work out. So I switched my major in college at the time from business to exercise science.
So you were going to college and training at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And working a couple jobs.
Okay.
And then, but I was like, all right, I can't afford a trainer. There's no way I can afford a trainer. I saw the prices. I think they were at $40, $50 an hour at the time, and there's no way. So I said, I'm just going to learn what a trainer learns. Now, there wasn't ChatGPT or Google or YouTube. This is 2001 or whatever it was.
There wasn't YouTube.
There was
fax machines.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, like libraries. So I switched my major in college to exercise science. I was like, if I just know everything a trainer knows, then I can do everything a trainer can do for me. So it was an 18 credit semester. It was a lot. And but it was great. And at the end of that semester, I had to take on a client. I took on a family member. And then
so it was required to actually help somebody.
Yeah, you at the end.
So you couldn't just like learn it. You had to actually
be able to like, which by the way, that was really, really helpful for my confidence, because you don't realize how much you learn in a period of time until you start working with somebody that's like where you were here. Wow. And now I'm like, wow, I felt so smart and so confident. So then I switched my job. I was going to school. I was working at Buca di Beppo restaurant. And so I said, let me get a job at LA Fitness. And I ended up breaking the records there in sales my first like month or two. And then, went on getting promoted, and became a cleanup guy, and fast forward. And now I just had 10 years in the space almost. And that's why I chose fitness.
So you were in the gym, so you actually understood it. You cared about it, understood it, and it meant something.
I even started my own personal training company. I had 3 trainers working underneath me at a time. At like 23 years old, I had it going up to $40,000 a month between me and my team. Yeah. And then ended up kind of taking different jobs from there. And yeah, it was fun.
You have to think, because if you think of martial arts as a whole, or small businesses, we get into a lot of times the thing we want to do because we love it ourselves. We're passionate about it. We love it. We don't know how to run a business,
right?
But we get into something like that. I have seen over the years, whether it's martial arts or fitness, people get into that out of, I'm skinny, don't want to be. I'm overweight and don't want to be. I'm getting beat up and I don't want to. We get into martial arts, and then we did it as a passion,
right?
But we never learned how to make a profit.
And that's actually why I didn't continue with that. So I found out I was going to become a dad.
Okay.
And at the time, although I was making good money, I didn't know how to run a business. I just knew how to get people in shape and get paid for it.
Got it.
And that's a different thing. I was a fitness professional, not a business professional. And so in my mind, I can't be a good dad and do this at the same time, because most of my clients train from 4 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then again from like 3:30 p.m. till 9 or 10 p.m. And I was very blessed. I had a great dad growing up. I saw him before school every day. We got to joke around. I saw him after school. We played basketball. We watched Knick games together. If you think of all of those things, you can't do those if you're working the hours I was working. Yep. And so I said, I got to switch careers. And so I got into a whole different thing, and I started working at gyms, and that's kind of how I left that. But now obviously things have changed. I'm not 23 anymore. I'm not 22. I learned a lot of stuff along the way, and I'm looking back now, I'm like, I should have just hired people.
Well, but the thing is, we learn how to make money, and we get off on it because we didn't have money. We learn, hey, if I just do this, I make money.
Right.
This is what works. And that's what we fall in love with.
100%.
And we don't realize you learn how to make money, but you didn't know how to run a business.
Yeah.
So,
I knew how to run one. I didn't know how to own one that runs.
Let me ask you this crazy question. Being from Jersey, what did you do first as an entrepreneur? Like, what was your first entrepreneurial endeavor, legal or not? And the reason I say that is I don't mean illegal. I mean, when you're underage, you shouldn't be collecting money. I worked at a call center. At 14 years old, you're supposed to be 16 to work.
Yeah.
I worked. That was probably not legal, but I worked hard. Like, what did you do first to hustle to make money, or that was first entrepreneurial thing that you did to trigger that in your brain? Or were your parents entrepreneurs? Or
my dad was self-employed.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm never really truly clear. Everyone's got a little definition of entrepreneurship. He didn't really create much, like there was not a lot of innovation. He was a jeweler. And so he never had a boss. He always just worked for himself. My mother, she was always really great at what she did, but she would work at a company, but she always moved up. Everywhere she went, she moved up.
So what about your entrepreneurial endeavor?
Yeah, so my earliest memory, it was shoveling snow in
Okay.
Jersey. I remember my dad asked me to shovel snow in the driveway, which I hated it. And I'm shoveling this thing. We're probably going slow on purpose because I didn't want to do it. Neighbor across the street, opens up his door and he goes, "Hey, when you're done with him, come over here." And I thought he was joking. I go, "Haha." He's like, "No, seriously, I'll give you $20." And I was like, "Dang." Yeah. So I finished up my dad's real
Yep.
quick. I finished it in record time, went across the street, and I started shoveling his snow. And after it was done, he was like, "Hey, anytime it snows, you come back here." I was like, "Man." So I rang the doorbell next door. And I think maybe one or two houses, I finally got another person to give me $20. And so I did that for maybe like a day. And then I was like, man, I made $80. And I really just did it in a day. It's amazing. But next thing I knew, I was like, well, let me get my friends. I'm bragging to my friends about the money I made. I said, "Why don't you come help me? We can get them done faster." So now we're shoveling snow twice as fast. But then I had 3 or 4 friends. And, I convinced everyone that we should always have the next job lined up. So my job was to go knock on the doors. Their job was to shovel the snow. And so I would always have a project.
That's fantastic.
And so I eventually didn't shovel as much, but I was able to earn the money and still be able to take half.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a Jersey thing. It only does a couple days a year. You can get it, but you make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I used to knock on the door the night before and say, "Do you want me to shovel that first or last?" And I would charge more for early, and then I didn't realize I got it backwards. Now you charge more for early, you would think, but later it's heavier because
Yeah.
it melts, and I don't know what that is.
It's different.
It's different, right? So I used to do that. I used to knock on the doors. It's interesting. Did you move to leaves and stuff afterwards? You landscape?
No, I never did the leaves. I never did the landscaping. I did this thing with CDs, totally illegal, probably
Okay.
not really illegal, but you could burn CDs.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
I did
And
that with
so-
Two Live Crew, man. No one's supposed to have it, so I remember I would literally sell things you couldn't find anywhere else.
Yeah, so I'd buy the CDs, I'd burn them, and then I'd go to return them. And then, obviously you can't return them because it's opened. That was the rule. And so I looking back, I would never do this again. I have such a respect for business. But back
Yes.
then, you don't know how disrespectful it is, but I would break the teeth in the middle, the thing that holds
Yes.
the CD. I would break it and I would go back and I would just say, "Hey, this was broken when I got it. I don't need a refund. I just want a new copy." So they give me a new copy that wasn't opened, and later on I returned the copy that wasn't opened. And so now I could return it.
That's crazy. But but it's interesting. You were using your skill for not the best thing, but
Yeah.
you're creative.
Yeah.
And that's what I find a lot of entrepreneurs that a little bit of, gray area. We do things, but we learn from that. But also if you don't do that at some level once, you don't build a baseline of doing the right thing.
Right.
It helps you with your moral. Thank God it's over one CD
100%.
at Sam Goody one time. Or was it Sam Goody?
Yeah, it was
Or
it
was
was
it-
quite a few hundred CDs.
All right, well,
over-
I made it seem like it was one. You made
No,
it seem like it's
Sam
one.
Goody's at several malls, and then
Caldor.
Nobody Beats the Wiz. And
Remember Caldor?
Caldor. I
Yeah.
don't remember that, but I do remember Nobody Beats the Wiz.
Nobody
There were
Beats the Whiz,
several
yeah.
of those.
Nobody beats the whiz.
Yeah.
I love it. So it's interesting you said that. So you caught on real young that leverage is one thing, because a lot of people, they love doing it themselves and
Yeah.
they're an entrepreneur. I want all the glory. And a lot of people become an entrepreneur because they want the glory, and they get a glorified job
Yeah.
and they look great. They're on the podium themselves. Look at me. I did what I did.
Right.
You caught on young. How old were you when you were shoveling?
Like probably 12, something like that.
Okay.
Maybe younger. I
You
don't
think
even
your
know.
kids would shovel snow now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They work. She's here right now working.
I know she is. She's got that lactic acid is going to build up. She's holding that camera, which is great. You're doing a great job over there. You're doing a great job. So the reason I say that is when we sat down and you told me a little about what we were going to be discussing, you talked to me a little about the new book you came out. Now, how many books have we had prior to this?
I've had booklets before.
Booklets. Okay.
Booklets that I wrote in a day that could be read in an hour.
Got it. So you're
And-
officially an author now.
Now this is different, right? But the goal was I went to an event by Dan Sullivan. Dan
Okay, of
Sullivan,
course.
strategic coach. And there was somebody that went up and spoke. And this person talked about, like, he really, I guess he helped a lot of people launch their books. And he had a bunch of really interesting stats. But one of the stats that I found really interesting that gave me a lot of confidence and the motivation to really start writing this thing was people that have a book that's over 200 pages, it was like a 3% completion rate. It was shit. Anybody that had a book between 100 to 200 pages, it was like a 10% completion rate.
Got it.
80 to 100 had like a 40%, and then under 80 had like 60%. Now, what he talked about
Who
was,
was this genius?
I don't remember his name, but he's in Coach.
It wasn't Ben Hardy, was it?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. And so anyway, I start looking at it, and then I said, that's a lot of cutting the fat. And he goes, well, the fat's okay. It's the heart of the book has to be around that 80-page mark. So like the appendix, the context, the blank page, that doesn't count. It's the heart of the book. So he said, you want to be able to finish the book in a long lunch or a short flight. That's the goal.
Yep.
And so what I actually did was I had ChatGPT give me a target. I said, hey, I need to finish a book in an hour and a half, a long lunch, or a short flight. And so how many words per minute does the average reader read? And I can't remember what it was like 250 or something like that. So they gave me the average and I said, based on that, how many words does the book need to be? It's like 22,000 words. And I said, okay, great. So now I knew my frame, and that's the frame I had to stay within in order to make sure that I can, get the average reader to finish it in a long lunch or a short flight.
It's interesting you bring this up because a lot of people write a book because they're passionate about a book. And I remember sitting down with Tucker Max when I wrote my book, and he was sitting on his couch and he goes, there's 2 reasons to write a book. One, write a book is to make yourself feel important.
Yeah.
The other way to write a book is something that people actually read that they want.
Yeah.
And I think most people they build a business that they want, they write the book that makes them happy, and they never think that if you want to exchange economics with another person or make someone's life better, give them what they want.
Right.
And so when you showed me this originally, I had it all backwards. I'm thinking, thank you. You wrote the book for me. You took it one step further. It is the book for me, the entrepreneur, to also help my people make their life better, their job, their career, their future better, and the entrepreneur better at the same time.
Right.
So it's actually a team book. And I don't think I've ever seen that in my life, that a team where the owner could learn what needs to happen and the team could understand what's expected of them. And when everybody understands it together, their life, their job, their career winds up being better. Did I land that correctly?
Yeah. So there's a lot of books already written for entrepreneurs. 90%.
That's what originally I'm like, oh, the standard is you. Yes, there's Michael Bernoff. The standard is me. And that's not at all what the book's about.
Yeah. So there's so many, most of these books aren't even getting read by these entrepreneurs. There's so many. They feel like they got this log they're never going to catch up with. And for employees, what I've learned is a lot of them have a hard time recommending books for their employees. Yep. And so they recommend books like Starts With Why or Good to Great or Power of Habits, and all those things are good. Cheese. Right. They're all good. But what I learned was a lot of them aren't applicable enough to where they're like, I know exactly what I need to do right now.
Yep.
So what this book does is it's for the employee. If the entrepreneur were to read this book, as they're reading it, they're going to go, yeah, yes. That's what they're going to say. These are things that I've wanted my team to do and know, and this is the way to articulate it. Now, if you're the employee reading it, you're going, because it's clicking.
That's why they react that way. That's what he means by that. That's what she means by that.
Yeah, because there's you think about the average person. By the way, I wrote the book and I used examples of the gym space because that's the space that I'm in and that's the space that I serve.
I do want to shout out one thing that you did really well. So everybody see this. I'm going to throw the cover right now. If you're ever going to write a book or do anything, he did pick his niche because he knows who he's talking to. But I will tell you, after reviewing this and looking through and Mike explaining it to me, you could cross out the word gym employees and you could write team of any sort of people that want to grow because they care about their company.
Yeah.
So literally cross off. But by you putting a stake in the ground, taking a stand, it fits you. You're in shape. You're a martial artist. 100%. Your family's in shape. You're healthy. You do talk to gym people. So you're watching this. If you do have at least one person to a dozen, you're going to show later how to get this?
25 or less.
25 or less? Okay. 26 people doesn't work.
Yeah.
26
Throw
people,
it away,
26 people, firewood, even 100 people. But the point is, I love how you took the stand because it would have been so easy to say the ultimate employee guide and then you'd never have your niche.
100%.
So courage to do that and kudos to you. So
yeah. There was a guy that spoke at my event and he talked about this author that really wrote a book called Selling Sunshine.
Okay.
And the author of that book was somebody that built a ton of tanning salons.
Okay.
That's what he did. So it was for that, but in reality, it was for everybody. And I read the book and I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. Like anyone should read that book. It's a great book. Same thing here. Like you're going to see that the examples that are given are for people that are in the fitness space. You're going to see like, oh, okay, I saw how this guy did it in that gym, but it doesn't matter.
Yep.
Those are 13 rules that if you want to be an A player on a team, you follow those rules and you're there. But if you miss one, you cannot call yourself an A player. You just can't. Because it's not like, oh, A minus.
What's your definition of an A player? Because that's like a lot of people like they hear, just tell you just context wise, people will say A player, type A personality, driven person. What is your definition of an A player? Because I would love all my team to be A players. What does A player mean to you?
So it's not a single definition. It's a lot of different traits and habits. It's somebody that is going to get the job done and doesn't need to be told what to do and when and why to do it. Like they're just going to go get it done. And I have an example of A, B, and C in the book, and I use horses, dogs, and tigers. Have you ever heard that?
Nope.
So if you think about a dog, okay?
What kind of dog?
Any dog. If you think about a dog, what happens if you don't feed it? It's going to whine, it's going to whimper, it's going to beg.
Yep.
It's not going to go hunt. Very unlikely. It's going to just whine, whimper, and then eventually it just dies, right? Well, sales dogs or employees are kind of like that as well. When you think about a sales dog, an employee that's like that, they're going to always complain about they need more leads and they need the leads to be good. And they're complaining about them. They whine, they whimper. And eventually, if they don't get really good leads, they die. They're not going to go get their own leads.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you got horses. Horses are great workers. Horses get a lot done in the field. But if you don't whip them, if you don't like motivate them, they'll just graze all day. They're totally fine grazing, but they can work great. B players, horses in the workforce are like that as well. They actually can get a lot of stuff done, but you've got to manage them. You got to manage them closely. And as long as you get them around A players, B players can be confused or mistaken for A
jockey
players.
Or somebody to ride them.
Yeah, and they're malleable. If you get B players around A players, you'll mistake them for A players. If you get them around C players, you'll mistake them for C players.
Got it.
A players are tigers.
Okay.
Think about a tiger. A tiger doesn't need to be told what to do. If a tiger just finished eating and a bunny walks by, he's batting the bunny down. It's instinct. He's got to kill.
Yep.
It's the same thing with like, take a salesperson. It's an A player. That person could hit goal halfway through the month, whereas everybody else might cruise and be like, good, I'm done. He's going to go, I'm 200% of pace. If I keep going this rate, I'm going to double my goal.
Yep.
So for them, they're just more motivated the more that they eat. They just want to keep going. And so A players aren't going to stick around unless you have other A players or really good B players on the team. If you have any C players on the team, what you'll end up with is a team of B players that act like C players or C players and no A players because they leave a team like that. C players are toxic. You cannot fire. I mean, you cannot hope that a C player quits because the C player won't quit.
They won't.
Because it's harder to go get another job than it is to do just enough to not lose their job here. Just enough. And some fall below the line knowing that it's also hard for the owner sometimes that's not prepared because they're not building a virtual bench of employees. It's hard for them to replace them. So some don't even do the bare minimum and they somehow keep around. These people will lose your A players. It's very important you understand the three and how to like really manage them.
I'm sure everybody listening right now is like got someone in their mind like this person. So this is an interesting conversation. Before we even get deep into this, and I'm gonna question you on some stuff because I saw some stuff I want to go deeper. So this is gonna be like the read along for the book that I want to get out of you. A couple of questions. So people watching this right now. Yeah. And they're thinking, oh God, Michael, man, you saved my life. Mike Arce, you're gonna save my life. I'm gonna give this book to my C players and we're gonna make them A players.
Don't give it to your C players.
Got it. So I want to talk about that. Because let's say you gave it to a C player.
Yeah.
Do they immediately think that they're doing this? Like because I think Patrick Bet-David says there's nothing more dangerous than a highly ambitious, lazy person, right? We've said this before. So a C player is highly ambitious, totally capable, talks it better than anybody, right? But they don't do it. So let's say you gave it to a C player. Let's talk about this. You give the book that is what you expect of them and how to run a better quality of life. What actually happens, short run, long run. Let's act this whole thing out.
If they read it,
let's say they did.
They'll find stuff wrong with it.
With the book or themselves?
With the book, but it's themselves.
Got it. So they would make the book wrong so they can stay right.
Yeah.
Got it. So this clarifies, we have something we talk about in our company, and I confuse people a lot with my language, and I'll say things like, hey, I'll spit out some copy, and I'll be like, hey, something like this, but not exactly this. And my team's like, no, you can't say that. It has to be, this is what we do.
Right.
And this is why we do it this way.
Right.
And instead of like giving that little option of something like this, because the C people would like to do it their way.
Right. A C player is going to find error in anything that makes them have to change their ways. An A player is going to get a tremendous amount of confidence, and they're also going to find new ways to think about the things that they're doing. Okay. They're going to find more ways to be successful in the things that you're already excited about with them. Okay. A B player is going to now start getting a lot more clarity as to who the A's and B's are, or A's and C's are on the team.
Yes.
The C's, the reason you don't give them a book is because they need to be fired.
Got it.
You're not going to develop a C player. You're just not. Now, keep in mind, this is in my definition of a C player. In my definition. Now, there might be other definitions, but my definition of a C player, it's not about their skill set. It's about their decisions, their choices. It's to me as the owner, if this isn't what you do for a living, it's not your job to motivate this person to become an A or a B. Because the way I look at it, there's an A or a B right now that wants their job, that is willing to work really, really hard. And they're not even getting the opportunity.
Because there's no room for them.
Because the C players clogging the seat, doing bare minimum or below work.
And taking the economics.
Yeah. And you think about your A player right now, the one that you love. Imagine that they wouldn't be on your team because a C player was holding up their spot. How would you feel? See, it's hard because we can't think of that person right now. So you can't envision the person that you haven't met yet. So therefore, we're like, this person's kind of better. No, it's not better. You know them better. But just know there's somebody out there that matches the person that you most love on your team, maybe even more, that isn't even getting an opportunity to like have a chance here at this company because the C player's holding their spot, wasting it.
So this will be really fun. I don't think you've ever been asked this before. This will be fun. So let's imagine, you've been through this. And one thing I admire about you, you literally will call me every 6 months to a year. Like, okay, I just want to let you know, some people are moving around, we're moving some stuff. And I admire that because you are always looking for the best of the company and the best of those people. Because a wrong fit, a C player is not a C player globally in their life. It's a C player within your organization.
Right.
They could be an A player in their marriage. They could 100%. Be an A player. They may move to some other thing that's less challenging.
You and me are C's on the Lakers.
100%. Yeah, I don't want that. Yeah, I don't want that. So we're not going to play for the Lakers. Yeah, I don't want to see there. Yeah, we'd be C players. We would probably, I'd work hard. But good people, but we don't belong. Fits. All right, good. Thanks for putting me in my place. I appreciate that. So let's say we got 10 people. Let's say someone watching this. I know most people probably have 5. But let's say you got 10 people in your organization. We already know that max you're going to have 1 or 2 A's. If not, you probably wouldn't have time to be watching this right now because you have 10 A's, you're in Bahamas, you're done. Yeah. So if we were playing 80-20 rule, 2 A's, 2 B's, 6 C's, or whatever that is. Let's just say we have that right now. That's our organization. Intellectually, we're like, 6 got to go. We know that. We make up stories. We bother our wife. We bother our husband every night about it. We talk to our other team about it, even though we shouldn't talk about it. We got our 6 people. They got to go for their life, for our life. Everything's got to happen. How long should we intelligently say that transition should take to roll that over to get to 3 A's, 4 B's, and we're still going to have C's because we're always going to be switching those seats at? What does that process look like? Let's give it an amount of time. Let's really, because I know what I would say.
Yeah.
And I want to be real. This is like when I'm teaching my daughter figure skating. There's things that are just going to take a year and a half. There's things that are going to take a year. Like doing, because you got a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. Sure, you can go fired, right? We can do that. But
well, here's the tricky part about that question is that there's a chance that someone's got that dynamic. There's a chance, but it's highly unlikely.
What's more likely dynamic?
If you've got 6 C's, you don't have 2 A's.
Okay.
They wouldn't hang around that team.
That's a big mic drop right there.
Yeah.
If you're more than 50% C's, you have no A's.
If you have even a few that are generally around these guys, they don't want to be around it. They don't want to be around you. You're tolerating it.
Yep.
And then you wouldn't even know that you.
And then you
B's.
Become a C.
Yeah.
We become
a C in production, and you wouldn't even recognize the B's as B's. They would be C's. You would confuse them with C's. There aren't enough A's. There's too many C's. The B's aren't going to become like the A's.
So what's a real scenario, you think?
A real scenario is maybe one in a healthy company, 1 or 2 A's of a team of 10. The rest are B's.
Okay.
And you may have one person that has now converted to a C, or maybe you mistook them because they interviewed like a B.
So in the bottom of that B level is closer to a C plus, and we got that. We've got to always be working on that.
Yeah, you should never have more than 1 or 2 C's on a team of 10, and that's only because you're just finding out that they're C's.
Okay.
Like your interviewing process hasn't sharpened well enough yet, or keep in mind some B's do convert to C because of what they do outside of work.
Got it.
So if you get a person that you might have had this where they were really, really good, then they started hanging around with real negative people. Maybe their closest person started going through a divorce and she started gossiping, and now they're going out. They get their own
girlfriend or boyfriend. Yeah.
So I've seen people convert. And sometimes you'll see people go to an A. Sometimes it's a traumatic event. Something happens, and all of a sudden they're just like on fire. They're ready to go, or they found out they're going to be a dad, or something happened. But more often than not, you find out, you're like, oh, I have to ask a new question in the hiring process to identify this. And so, yeah, that's what it is. And as far as like how to get it there, you've got to always be recruiting. ABR. Like you're always recruiting.
Do you always have an ad out there, or are you always telling people?
Yeah. And I mean, I've got people that I want to hire that I just haven't, I don't have a room. I don't have a spot for them.
Got it. You physically know them, or you know of the idea of them?
No, I know. We talk.
Okay.
We talk, and they'll check in with me and say like, "Hey, just wanted to check in. Is there a spot?"
Is timing right yet?
Yeah. Not yet. But we keep the conversation going. I just made another contact yesterday. Somebody that was referred to me by someone, and we started talking, and we had a great conversation. We both agreed there's not a spot right now, but we want to keep the conversation going because I plan on there being a spot one day.
It's interesting you bring this up, and I backtrack. My ADD brings me back to the snow story. What a great way to talk about this book. Telling that. Do you tell that snow story often?
No.
Because what a great, simple story to say how you started off as the you. It was all you. And then you got some other people to understand. And then eventually you did what you were best at in building the business and doing the thing that you were best at that the company needed, which is bringing in more money and more business. And you trained other people to do great work. So that metaphor literally got me. That's an A and B team.
Yeah.
The C guy is sitting on the driveway, doesn't want to shovel snow.
Yeah.
So if you literally tell that story for a quick elevator pitch for this book, I think that really nails it. And then have everybody read it. It goes, if we all want to retire and get the things we want, and we want snow shoveling to be the biggest thing, because snowy driveways hurt people and people slip and die and hips get broken, and after hip breaks, life falls apart. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's very powerful. So let me backtrack in here and ask you a couple things. So when you showed me this, and we sat down originally with the book, and you sat down with me and okay, Michael, and this is so cool because you basically pointed, and I'm going to show this to everybody here on the screen. And I thought this was genius. How do I get back to the table of contents? It was right here. Literally here. We're not going to cover all of them right now, but 13 rules A players play by. Can we zoom in on that, Chip? Okay. We got it. I feel like with Joe Rogan, this is Jamie. We got Chip. Yeah, Chip. Okay. So right there, I'm not going to show you it all. But what's interesting about it is, if I were to ask you, like if I'm looking at this, I would first probably read this as the owner, because I want to read it to know what they're reading, because you've got to take responsibility, read it in a day, read it in an hour, whatever it is. And I were to say, which of these 13, if you had to pick 3 of them right now, that you would say 100%, these would be the top 3 that we would focus on, have an additional meeting about, I'd want them to teach about. And what would you say, like 1, 2, and 3? If you had to, like, right off the top of your head, they're all wonderful. I mean,
I would say they're all equal, obviously, because not one can be off, right? But the ones that I think would have the greatest impact, first and foremost, it's stay hungry.
Okay.
And here, do you want me to dive into why, or you want me to tell you
let's get the 3 first. Stay hungry.
Oh, so stay hungry, extreme ownership would be the next one. And then the results oriented.
Got it. So if a company doesn't have values yet, which a lot of companies don't, this book could help you develop values. If those 3 are important, you could literally use
4
those
of
13.
those are our values. We have 4 values, and 13 of those rules are 4 of them.
Got it. So if someone's missing values, one of those 13 could help them get started.
100%.
Okay, so let's start with hungry.
Yeah, so with stay hungry, this is one of the challenges that sometimes you have an A player in here, but they have C player training.
Got it.
Because society's brainwashed them into believing that this is what's supposed to happen. This is how it's supposed to be. So remember, I saw a meeting that I actually had with one of the gyms that we work with, and it was like 12 or 13 of their employees. And looking at it, and just in the early parts of the conversation, it was easy, just by the engagement, it was easy to identify the 1 or 2 C players that were on that team, the 1 or 2 A players that were on the team, and everybody else. It was very easy to identify it. And so I brought something up. And one of the things I brought up was that particular gym owner told me separately that when he mentioned that they were going to do sales training once a week for an hour, mandatory.
Does an A player got told this?
Everyone on the team got told this. It was a meeting. And he said, the owner, hey, we're going to do a 1-hour sales training every week. And it's going to be mandatory. Now, to be fair, he pitched it terribly. But they all, including the A players, asked if they were going to be paid for that time. Now, that's society training, right? Yep. Hey, if I'm going to show up, if you want me there.
It's not in my contract.
Yeah. You want me to come in on a Saturday at 8? I want to get paid for it, right? Or if I'm going to come in on Thursday at 7 a.m., I want to get paid for it. Anything outside of my hours. Now, there's logic to it, right? Like, hey, these are the hours we agreed to. You want me to come in and do this now. I should get paid because I'm taking my time away from my family or my friends. Fair. Netflix, by the way, takes you away from your family and 100%. Friends. But
we're not asking that. We're not asking them to cut a check.
Yeah. Oh, so now here's what I did. I told the team, I said, how many of you guys went to college? And more than half of them raised their hand. It was almost all of them, with the exception of like 2. I said, okay, you went to college. And out of curiosity, anybody here spend more than $10,000 in college? Everyone's hand went up. I go, 20,000, $40,000. I got to one person who won $100,000. Okay. I said, okay, so now we spent that much money in college. What was the expectation? Why did you do it? Well, because I wanted to be able to develop skills so that I can make more money down the road. Got it. But we didn't know exactly where we would be able to apply it. We just generally believed we would. Mm-hmm. They said, yes. I said, okay, how many of you guys aren't doing what you went to school for? Almost every hand went up. I said, why didn't college pay you to go? Like, why wouldn't they pay you to be there? And they all kind of like, they look confused because obviously society trained you that, no, that's not how that works. And I said, I mean, you could have hung out with your friends and family, but instead you chose to go there, giving their teachers a job because they wouldn't have anything to teach if you weren't there. So why wouldn't they pay you? I said, here at your company that you work at, the owner who has more experience than you, that it can outsell everyone in this room, is gracious enough to offer free education once a week so you can accelerate your learning and learn what he learned over decades in just an hour. And he's able to do it every week he's offering. And with that information, it is immediately applicable. You can take what you learned right there, right now, and leave the meeting and go sell better so that you can make more money. Are you guys all commissioned? They said, yeah. I knew the answer already. But they said, yeah. So you can make more money right away by having those skills just like he would have. Yes? Yes. So why wouldn't you ask, is there any way I can get 2 or 3 of those hours?
Yes.
And you're sure it's free? Like, I don't have to pay you for this. I know you're taking
this
your time.
Should be saying, yeah.
I know you as the owner are taking your time away from your family and your friends to help me find a way to develop skills and make more money on my own. Are you sure you don't want me to pay you for this? Now, keep in mind, that's not what society taught us. When I said that, the A players were like, dude, yeah, I'm in. Let's go. Let's train.
Yep.
The C players, I could tell, they were annoyed that there was a point made and other people were bought in on it. And the B players were generally amicable, right? So that to me is the most important thing. If you as an employee, if you are not willing to get better than you are now, but you want more than you want now in income and opportunities, there's a huge misalignment. Huge misalignment. So there's a phrase, and one of my employees brought this up the other day, literally 2 days ago, and you know him. I'm not going to bring him up. But he was having a hard time. And he said, yeah, man, I don't know. I'm getting a little bit of anxiety. I asked, why? Where's it coming from? And he goes, I don't know, just the feeling of not being good enough. And I said, well, hey, that's one of the biggest feelings that a lot of people get, is that feeling of not good enough. And he goes, I know, and I can't shake it. I'm like, where's it showing up? And he said, personal, work, and everything. I go, can I ask you a question? He's like, yeah. I go, what's wrong with not being good enough? Like, why is that a bad thing? What's wrong with not being good enough? I go, Arnold Schwarzenegger would work 3-4 hours in the gym like an animal because he believed he wasn't good enough. Yes. Kobe Bryant was taking free throws at practice when everyone else was home, and he's got a cast on one of his arms and he's shooting them because he believed he wasn't good enough. Everyone you know that's done anything great worked harder than everyone else because they believed they weren't good enough as everyone else. I work harder on being a better dad. I work harder on being a better husband because I believe I'm not good enough, because my standard is always changing. Because your potential is like a horizon. You're never going to reach it just because you walk towards it. It feels like it gets further away the closer you walk.
It's crazy how that is.
So I told him that, and he goes, dude, I literally feel better right now. I go, what do you mean? He's like, what the fuck is wrong with not good enough? There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
And I go, no. I go, forget what society's telling you. Society says you're enough. For what? For your standard? For your goal? For the things that you want to accomplish? You can't be enough and then want more. You have to be willing to accept and be excited about the idea that you're not enough and that there's more to do, and you have the opportunity to do it, and that will match the outcome that you want to achieve.
Agreed. So getting someone hungry is getting them to first realize that they're capable of more, and then also realizing they don't have enough yet.
And they're completely in position to get it.
And this has got pages that would walk someone in that you don't have to, as the owner, say. Mike Arce says it for them.
Yeah.
So I can literally this is the out of town expert. This is your dad and a mom, and you also had an uncle. Your uncle got you
Mm-hmm.
healthy, in great shape in martial arts.
Right.
Parents could have told you your whole life to do it, but it's your uncle who's an out-of-town expert with the briefcase, which is what you created. This is the out-of-town expert with the briefcase, getting someone to get hungry in your team. Because we get frustrated because you have that a lot where you would how many people in your life you had those long talks, long conversations. They're going to get it this time.
Yeah.
And you're telling your B or C guy to become an A.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
No.
And that's powerful. Well, hey guys, I want to take a quick opportunity right now and remind you that Average Sucks is not just an incredible podcast. It is a way of life. It is a way of being. And the title of my best-selling book that shows you step by step. I literally walk through exactly how in my life and in the lives of our incredible students, I showed them how to live an above average life, whether it's in your business, whether it's with your finance, with your health, any area of your life that you're looking to scream those words, average sucks, get to the next level, get out of your box in life. This book will show you exactly how to do it. Get your copy at averagesucks.com or Amazon or wherever books are sold. Get your copy right away and get out there and start living a life that screams average sucks. Get the book.
But one of the things too, Michael, is that there's examples in the book so that you can see it in action. You could see how a person went from not as hungry or not using that hunger to using it and then getting what they wanted. One of them was McKenna on my team. She's no longer with me. She moved to North Carolina. She's living an incredible life. That's what she wanted. You're not going to get North Carolina grass here.
No.
She started
misalignment at that time.
100%. She started with me as an intern.
Yep.
Free. I didn't pay her anything.
Yep.
She did such a good job as an intern. She got a job making $30K right out of college, which in 2017, that was pretty good.
A lot of money.
Right out of college.
A lot of money.
Within a few months, she got bumped up to a manager, and then she ended up, getting to a point within 5 years, she's making 100K plus profit share.
Wow.
With unlimited PTO. And how did that happen? Because McKenna had probably read 30 or 40 books on leadership, on management, she connected with other video production and marketing experts to learn what they were doing.
She wanted to get better.
She was one of the most curious people I knew, and she was hungry to get the answers. And that equals that result.
So as dangerous as it is, we got a society that tells people you're enough, just be okay, be like everybody else. And then we got that burning desire inside, like I want more. So it's accepting the fact that you're not where you want to be yet.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything wrong with you, that there's a gap between where you are and where you want to be. And that's okay. As soon as that gap gets revealed, you've got to be hungry enough to do something about it.
Yeah.
So if we don't have hungry people, we're not going to grow.
No. And if you have that feeling inside of you that you're not enough, forget what society tells you. That feeling might live for a reason. Your ambitions might be greater than the ambitions of the modern person in society.
Yep. I think they are. And a lot of that too is that people, the reason they create that is it's just a way to control people. I don't want to get into a whole long story with that, but I mean, at the end of the day, if I get everyone just to sit on their computer and look at stuff all day, if I'm a marketing company and if I could tell everyone everything will be okay, just go online and go buy shit off Instagram,
right.
I would do very well.
Sure.
But if everybody knew that they didn't need anything, that you don't need anything from anybody, that you can go, you're good enough yourself, but you should go get more.
100%.
That's powerful. So I think that's a big thing in a company. I mean, how do you activate your people? I talk about wantingness a lot of times. I tell people about activating your wantingness, like getting to where your kids would be, like at a cereal aisle, like when they were kids, where you have to have it. Like when I was shoveling snow as a kid, I wanted a gotcha gun. Do you remember gotcha? Gotcha were they were little pellets that shot like a paintball gun. It was called gotcha.
Okay.
And
wait, yellow pellets?
Little yellow or blue pellet, the zebra gun, and they gotcha. And you would
they look like real guns.
They look like real guns. And you could shoot like little paint, or these yellow pellets. And I wanted to go to Toys R Us at the Rockaway Mall. And I could picture and I had to have it. And I get obsessed. When we get older, we get told that obsession's wrong. Yeah. We need to build a culture of very obsessed people. So if this can activate the hunger and the drive inside of people and build that into a culture, got a chance to build the company I always wanted.
Yeah, and I think too, this is a lesson I learned from Dave Berg. I think you know Dave.
I love Dave.
He's one of my longest term mentors. What he said is, if you want people to read a book, you don't say, "Hey, I want you to read this book." You say, "Hey, I want to see the stuff that's in this book living in our company. I want you to take a look at it, read through it, and let me know where you see it playing in."
That's big.
So instead of saying read the book, say, "I want this living in the organization, but I want your take on some of the stuff in here and help me see how I can think through it. What are you seeing in here? How we can make that happen?"
That'll see how they interact with it. He's such a smart guy.
He is.
That's such a smart guy. I got a really cool thing. Remind me later before we end how to hand this to somebody. I have outside of that, I have a cool little thing that I'm going to show you that leaders can do if they watch this podcast. And so before we even get deeper into this, people are watching. My audience are action takers. They've almost all taken call to action. They've worked with me for a while. They're asking right now, the book's now available. How do they get this? What do they do? Where do they
You
go? What do they do?
standardisyou.com.
Okay, thestandardisyou.com.
And if you follow me on Instagram at all, you'll hear me talk about it.
Okay, and then we'll put the link, Instagram, and you want to shout out your Instagram?
Yeah, Mike Arce Live.
Okay, that's it.
Yep.
Mike Arce Live. ARCE Live.
Yep.
Done. MIKE.
Yeah.
So not that many letters.
Easy
It's
Mike.
444.
Say Mike is yours.
Yep. Say Mike. Perfect. Done. So definitely get that. Follow him online. Grab the book. And I would recommend get some extra copies for the new people because some of your C players are never going to return them. You'll probably need at least 10.
Yeah.
10 of these sticking around. Okay, second one. So first is hungry. What was number 2?
Extreme ownership.
Okay. What does that mean to you?
So for us, extreme ownership is not only taking accountability of the things that you could be doing better, the things that you didn't do right, but even more so, having the courage to hold other people accountable in a society where we're told not to do that.
Okay, let's literally own that part here real quick. Because everyone understands the idea. Take ownership. I just read Jocko's, but take ownership. Navy SEAL, Divine's book, ownership. Got it.
Ownership is a very big buzzword these days. So a lot of people believe they're taking ownership, but they're not.
Let's hold people accountable. How do we do that?
Holding people accountable. So I've got a word for it.
Yeah.
It's called rumble. You heard me talk about this before?
No, but I know WWF when I was a kid. Let's get ready to rumble.
So the thing is, if you think about school,
Yep.
where we got most of our training, we didn't want to tell on another kid if we saw them doing something wrong. You'd be a rat, right? So if you see a kid cheating, you don't feel good about telling on that kid. But it's different because if that kid fails, it doesn't impact your grade whatsoever. You're just being a jerk.
Yep.
However, in the workplace, we're all rowing in this boat. Everyone's got an oar.
Yep.
And if you're rowing in the wrong direction or not rowing at all, like it's impacting my growth, because if this company's not growing as fast as it could, my opportunities suffer. Especially if I'm working hard, I don't want you to not work hard. So being able to talk to the person that's not doing what they're supposed to do and say, grab an oar, dude. I need you rowing. And if they're not rowing, being able to have a conversation with management with great intention and say, hey, listen, we're all rowing real hard. I feel like this one guy here is not keeping his part. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help him, but I'm struggling with holding him accountable.
So this would be like a manager or another teammate bringing this to ownership.
Yes, but before you get there, there's a tool that I was given by a friend of mine named Matt Blanton, and it was called Rumble, and it's incredible. And every company should integrate Rumble into their system. It's a remarkable tool for accountability. Here's how it works. We had a meeting. We basically discussed that Rumble is now a trigger for us. Now, we all know the word trigger, right? I'm triggered. And you could have a trigger. Maybe it's something that somebody says and you're offended by it instantly. It doesn't take any time. You're immediately off. Well, you can create good triggers too. You don't have to have just bad triggers. You create good ones. And a good trigger is Rumble. And so here's what we said to the team. Guys, whenever somebody says, hey, I got to rumble with you, what that means is if somebody says that to you, you know right now that this person is having an uncomfortable conversation. It's uncomfortable for them. For them, they were nervous
to come to you.
Come to you because they don't know how you're going to react. And their worst fear is that you're not going to be good at this part and you're going to get defensive and you're going to fight it. So they're nervous. And your job is to be able to take it, receive it, and not like be, defensive and give excuses, because if you do that, you're going to train them that you can't take it and they're never going to do it again. And now not only will they not do it again to you, but they may not do it with others. And that's where the team struggles. So what needs to happen is as soon as somebody says, I got to rumble with you, okay.
That's not I have a problem.
Yeah.
That means you got to rumble. It's like we're
not attacking the person, we're attacking the problem.
We're going to have a conversation.
Exactly. Not attacking the person, attacking the problem. This guy believes that there's something big enough to have a conversation around, and he's uncomfortable right now. And so my job is to take this well. And it's remarkable because even with me, my team does it with me. Patrick will come to me and he'll go, hey man, can I rumble with you? And I already know, like I sit up straight. I know like this is uncomfortable for him.
Does your defensiveness come down?
Immediately.
Okay.
Because I know that I know we're attacking the problem, not the person. I know it's uncomfortable for him. And I know what my job is. And he's judging me on how well I do my job.
Got it.
Because we know how it's all trained.
It's big.
And so I listen. I go, hey, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. What do you think I could have done? And I could do it back. We could all do it. And so that's important. What's also important is you don't rumble a rumbler. So here's what that means. You come to me.
I say I got to rumble. I got to rumble with you, Mike.
And then I take it well. And then I go, well, while we're at it, I got to rumble with you. Don't do that shit. If it was so
or in your marriage either.
Yeah. If it was so important, you should have brought it up earlier. Yeah. If it was so important, if it wasn't important to bring it up then, don't bring it up now. Bring it up when you see it happen again or something happens and you rumble. But like, don't do it because now you're training him. It's tit for tat everywhere we go. So
you let it go.
Yeah.
Or can you bring it up at the beginning?
You already let it go before the meeting, right?
Got it.
You already had to let it go. Otherwise, you would have gone up to him.
Got it.
So you just
can't hold back a rumble. It needs to come right away. I look at something, I see a challenge, rumble right away. Don't wait 3 days, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
If I wait 3 weeks and I never wait, if I wait for someone to come to me, that's not ownership anymore. No. That's like saying I'm really good at fighting when someone punches me.
Yeah, we work together. You think I am too slow with getting to the phones, and you see it happening time and time again, but you don't say anything for whatever reason you don't. Then I come to you because I say, hey man, I just want to rumble with you. You say okay, you take it well. I say, I think the way you've been organizing this is poorly, and you go, hey man, while we're at it, I think you've been really slow on the phones. Don't do that. Like. If it was that big of a deal, you should have brought it up then. Because right now it looks like defensiveness.
Yes.
And it's not good.
I love that. That's big. That's a whole different take on ownership because it's so easy. The whole crowd is probably like, oh, he's about to talk about ownership and why you got to take ownership. And they were going to go, I get it. You just literally said how to actually activate a culture of ownership.
Yeah.
And a culture of ownership is completely different than just the value of ownership.
Right. And there's another layer called radical ownership or radical accountability. And it was actually made famous by Russian author Dostoevsky, who wrote Crime and Punishment and Brother. And he was an incredible philosopher 200 years ago.
I have the book. I never read it.
Yeah. I mean, even if you just were to ChatGPT some of his beliefs, his philosophies, incredible. Some of them are pretty radical. But one of them is this, radical accountability, which basically says, I'm not only accountable for the things that I do, but I'm accountable for the things that you do.
Yes.
And so if you, let's say, were to treat me like a jerk, I have to first ask, what did I do to put myself in the position where he believed he could talk to me like that?
Yes.
Or what did I do to maybe get him to that point?
Why did I need this?
Or why did I need this right now? I had Jay Abraham. You know Jay Abraham?
Oh yeah, of course.
So before I knew Jay Abraham, we're friends now. Before we were friends,
he's funny.
We were at I was at a conference, marketing conference. I was early in my career, and I saw him, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's Jay Abraham. He's like one of the godfathers of marketing. And so I was all excited, and I walked up to him because he was walking down the hall, and I go, excuse me, Jay? And he said, yeah. And he's all dressed up. You know how he is, handkerchief and all that. I go, I see you're walking this way. You mind if I just walk with you until you get to where you're going? I'd love to talk with you for a few. And he goes, stops, puts his hand in his coat pocket, gives me a business card. He goes, here's my card. Email that address and they'll send you a free course. Patted me on the shoulder and walked away. Now, instantly, my first reaction was, this guy's a jerk. Oh. But then I was like, hold on.
He doesn't know you.
What did I do or not do to put me in the position to where he felt like this would be harmful to his time versus helpful to his time? And so from there, I built up a reputation. And one of the last episodes I had on my podcast called The GOAT Show, at the time I had this podcast, was Jay Abraham. And we had a great conversation. I brought this up. He's like, I had no idea I did that. We talked for 3-4 hours. It was great. So I think it's sometimes we want to blame other people. Like we're always judging how somebody acts or thinks or makes decisions. We never judge people by their intentions. We judge them by their actions. We never judge ourselves by our actions. We judge ourselves by our intentions.
Yes.
It's like flip-flop. So in this case, it's like, okay, how do I make my adjustments so that next time I approach him, he actually finds value in wanting to meet with me?
So it's you, not him.
Radical. It's me. Yeah, you weren't a jerk. You did what you felt was right, and you probably had 100 people coming up to you that day, and I'm 101. And it's like, I get it.
I think it's interesting because I'm big on ownership. It's one of the values in our number 2 value in our company. And I take it to such an extreme. I feel like if the flight was late, I'm the one that booked it. You know what I'm saying? I can't even get mad at the air. I can't get mad at the hotel. I don't get mad at anybody. I walk down the street, get hit by a car. I chose to walk down the street. That's the level I take ownership to. Out of either learning it or responsibility, educating people and really having conversations about it. I think it's not a one-time explanation because of the culture. We are a blaming culture. We're a culture of, look who hurt you, a legal society, blame the world. Dude, you go to the hospital and they kill you. I mean, dude, you pick to go to the hospital. I mean, that's just, let's get real. Like that's how I'd see it. The other people would say, well, you got to sue them, you got to do this. But I believe that's more than a one-time conversation. I think it's something the company needs to talk about over and over again and really talk about the value of it. And if we all took ownership, we could own how we run this company, which is Very, very powerful. So I love that that's number 2 on your hot list.
And it's called the standard is you, because how easy is it to become that person when other people on the team are already that person?
So we keep the standard here, and if the standard is you, how you live, and this is how we do things, and this is what we do and why, that changes the culture. What was number 3?
Results oriented.
Okay.
This is an interesting one.
It should make common sense. Like, we need results, right?
Yeah, but not the way people think. So if you think about the difference between a corporate company versus a startup or a small business is anything under 500 employees, right? But we're talking people that have 15, 20 employees or less. At a corporate company, have you ever worked corporate before?
No.
You know anybody that's worked corporate before?
In my life.
Okay. So at corporate, the length of time that you work there is really a big part of how you do, like how you progress in the
tenured.
company. Tenured. Yeah, they value tenure, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year. And so you could have a remarkable idea, but the chances of that idea even being heard, never mind implemented, is low. Then if it does get heard, the time it takes something to get implemented is long. So it's just very different. I've actually worked corporate, and I know people that work corporate. Debt settlement and credit repair and stuff like that.
Big companies.
Yeah. And what I learned was they didn't care. In fact, if they would ask me to take longer sometimes on something that would take me shorter because they needed to meet a time budget to get a bonus.
Wow.
So I would have to pretend I spend 60 hours on something that only took me 10 hours because it was more valued that their people are working longer hours or more, right? It was weird.
That was insane.
Now, here's the difference. I have 2 employees.
Yeah.
John and Jim.
The A's or B's?
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
They're on the team.
John and Jim. Yeah, separate category of A's and B's because sometimes a B can pull this off. I have John and Jim. John comes to me with a solution to a problem that we had and says, hey, just want to let you know I've been working on this for 6 months and I finally figured it out. We could do this, we could do this, we could do this. And I go, this is brilliant. Amazing. Yes, he has opportunities at this company. The other person comes to me and says, hey, I thought of this idea in the shower today, and I think we could solve this problem with this. And it's the same solution. This guy's more valuable to me than that guy.
Yeah, because this guy took 6 months.
It took him 6 months. This guy took him a shower. Right? So results oriented, it's not about how long you take. In fact, in a small business, what's more valued is you being able to solve bigger problems in a smaller amount of time with less resources. When you're able to be maximum resourceful and be able to get more things solved faster, there's endless opportunities. I want you on every project I'm working on. How do I get the way you're thinking on every project I've got? And so I think a lot of times we just want to go through the motions. If you think about school taught us backwards. I remember, and I share this in the book, but I remember one time in math, I got the right answer. I got points off because I didn't solve it the way she taught me to solve it. I got the right answer though. I didn't cheat. I just had to work around. However I did it.
You got the result.
I got it. And I got points off because I didn't do it the way I was taught. I think I should have got extra points. You mean I figured out how a way to do it and nobody even showed me? There's little bonus points for thinking? It's like, shouldn't I get more? But anyway, point is I got less points. But in real life, imagine you have an employee and you got these systems that have been running forever. This is the way we do it. It works. It's proven. And this employee goes, what if we did this? And you just looked at it and you go, wow, that would be a much better way to get there. And how did you think of that? I don't know. I just kind of came to me. I was thinking about what our customer wants. And you're like, dude, don't you want him on every project?
Yes.
Aren't you getting his insight on everything? So I think when people are just following the boxes, they're just checking the boxes. That's not results oriented in the way that we want it. That's results oriented in school. You did the test, you did the homework, you followed the agenda, the syllabus is done. But in reality, or in today's world, the one that we're in today, I don't care if you checked all the boxes. You figured it out and you got it done better than we were able to do with our dumb, boring boxes that we've been stuck with. So I care about the result. I care about the outcome. I don't care how you got there. As long as it was within our values, it was ethical.
I was glad you brought that part up because some people are like, well, if I hired someone else to do it or
no.
send it from another country.
Well, hey, if you hired someone, I actually had an employee that did that. His name was Justin.
Yeah.
And he had 98 accounts with us. This is when we had the ad agency. We sold it in July. He had 98 accounts with us. And he wanted to manage more, but he couldn't. Now, he was paid per account. So it was advantageous. If he got to 110, 120, it's a big deal. He hired an offshore virtual assistant
Good for him.
to be able to handle some of the communication that was $3 to $4 an hour stuff, which freed him up an extra 10 to 15 hours for him to take on more accounts.
Now, did he bother you with that? Because I've seen people say, hey, we should do this. So we should do this will annoy the entrepreneur.
Exactly. Now,
he just did it.
To be fair, he asked me, how could I make more? And I said, get more done. He's like, how? I go, I don't know. If I was in your shoes, I'd probably find a way to get somebody to help me with the stuff that's easy to help with.
And he literally took it around.
He did it.
So he took ownership.
Yeah.
He was hungry. This sounds like an A player.
Yep.
And on top of that, he went out there and he really created a lot of leverage for himself, and he decided to get results.
He was really good at leverage. Still is.
Yeah, that's massive.
Yeah.
That's massive. So this is the question. There's a lot of people out there, and I'd say this to myself too, like, where do you find good people, or, the people, they drive me nuts to be better for people. What do you say to the entrepreneur that is pointing the fingers just like the fingers getting pointed at him? What do you say to the entrepreneur that's really got an A in their heart, but they're acting like a C themselves?
Yeah.
If you were to coach them, because I know you do consulting and you work with companies, and you at your events, I've seen you're tough, dude. You're a Jersey boy. Does that make sense? What do you say to somebody that they have a dream that they're an A, well, they're a highly ambitious, lazy person, and they're wanting it to be their team and not them? What do we say to them? Because that's a tough conversation that we need to have sometimes with ourselves. They may hear you say it now and they could articulate it, but you know exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
We're doing what they do to us, to them.
Yeah.
We're saying it's you guys.
Yeah. For that argument to be valid, no company is successful if they're dependent on employees.
Okay.
Right? For that argument to be valid. For us to even entertain your argument of good people are hard to find.
Yep. What about if my people were better? I'd be doing better.
Of course, that's math.
Okay.
You're right. So now what's next?
Well, then what is that? What's next? What is the next part of that conversation?
So the speed of the leader, or the pace of the leader, determines the pace of the pack, right?
Okay.
The speed of the pack, one of those two, however that saying is. And so if you're not doing the things in the book, you have created the ceiling. I can only climb a ladder wherever the ladder ends. I can't go much higher than that. And so you're the ladder, and people are following you. Another thing that's really important in the book is giving your people that opportunity. There's this analogy, and I don't remember if I use the analogy in the book or not. I think I might. But I want you to imagine that we all took a road trip, everyone in this room, four of us. And let's say generally, I'm the guy that makes sandwiches because I'm really good at making sandwiches. And everybody loves my sandwiches.
Italian sandwiches?
Yeah.
Ham, salami, provolone,
a nice, Vinny sub.
Yeah.
And so I'm the guy, everybody likes my sandwiches, and I know I'm the best sandwich maker here. Okay, great. But I'm also the driver today because I'm the one that knows where we're going. I've made a decision where we're going, and everyone got in the car because they agreed we're going there. Let's go. So now we're driving, and I also now start making the sandwiches.
While you're driving.
So exactly. So what's happening? Who's watching what? The road. No one. Why? Because I'm making the sandwiches. And everyone else is sitting there while I'm making the sandwiches. The reason I'm making the sandwiches is because I feel like no one can make it as good as me. Well, here's the problem. Somebody in the freaking car has to say, I got it. And the driver has to be willing to say, guys, listen, I don't care. Make the sandwich. If you can't make it as good, you'll get better. The reason a lot of entrepreneurs don't delegate, and the reason a lot of teams don't develop, is because of the downward spiral of gap of skill set. So here's what that looks like. I'm the owner. You're an employee.
Okay.
I feel like I sell better than you, and it might even be true on paper. So a new lead comes in. I take the lead. Why?
Because you're better than me.
Because I'm better than you. Well, repetition is the mother of skill. So guess who got a rep in? Me. So who got better? Me. Which means the gap of our skill set is bigger, which means my lack of trust is greater. So now next time a lead comes in, who's going to take it? Me. And then it keeps going. And next thing you know, you get to the point where you go, I can't find anybody good. No, because you're the only one that's getting better. And so the gap is just getting monstrous. And you don't know where you're going to find anybody. You've got to be willing to let people you have to be willing to let people be as good as you were when you had that many reps.
So what's the gap between they're not capable at all? I mean, I understand the answer, but I'm hearing this right now because they're saying, but Mike, we need to bring in that $6,000. But Mike, if we don't get that membership, I can't pay my bills. Does that make sense? If we don't do that desperate feeling like I have to make the sale myself, or they can watch. How do we know the difference between someone that just should not they're not even capable, they're not going to get good versus 5-6 reps and they're going to be where we used to be.
You're going to get good at whatever you practice.
Okay.
You want your people to get better faster, you got to train them faster.
Okay.
That's it. There's no way around it. We had this one interesting thing that happened in our company, and this is one of the coolest things that I've seen. And I'm so glad it worked out because I really took a risk on this one. We had about 60 or 70 people on a Zoom call, and I asked people, hey, really quickly, because one person mentioned that their closing percentage wasn't strong. It was low. It was like 10%, really low. And so I said, okay, why don't we do this? Everybody in the Zoom, go ahead and use a chat and just type your closing percentage. We had ranges come in from that low 10% to 80% and everything in between, right? 40, 50, 60, everything. I said, now what I want you to do is take your comment, hover over it, and comment on your comment so we can see everything stacked. And what I want you to comment on, your original comment, is your frequency and how often you do sales training. The 10%er never did sales training. People that were doing 20% were doing it like once a month. 30, 40% were doing it like once a week. All the way up to 80% was doing it daily plus on-the-spot training throughout the day. So, yeah, I get it. You don't like your 10% closing rate that your team's doing. What are you going to do about it? You're going to hope, you're going to pray, you're going to keep firing people, you're going to keep taking the sales, or you can put in the training, which, by the way, is going to get you better as well at training people because you're getting a rep in training and developing. So you're going to get better at this. So a year from now, you're also developing your reps, not in selling, but in training people on how to sell. This won't be a problem for you anymore. The only way it's going to continue being a problem is to continue doing what you're doing.
That's big. That's really big. I've never seen it laid out like that. And that is a natural tendency. You want to do it yourself because we started by ourselves. A lot of times we do the thing we've always done.
Yeah.
We started by ourselves. We came into this entrepreneurship ourselves. We want to do it ourselves. I think we also want to feel good about it. I think we want to impress people.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is we want to look at me, I'm Godzilla. I can do everything. And then I want to make you feel bad. But we're actually harming the person, harming the company, and making it harder.
And you're not developing the skill that's more advanced than the skill you've already developed.
So the skill of developing people is a bigger skill than learning how to sell.
My favorite book on leadership is called Multipliers, and it's a perfect name. And the idea is your job as a leader is to develop other leaders. And if you're not developing other leaders, you're not a leader. You're just a really good player in the thing you keep doing.
Got it. So back to your snow example. You got 3 other kids on the last 3 driveways shoveling. You're booking big gigs over here. If we don't go back to the other people shoveling and teach them eventually how to knock on doors, you're going to be knocking on doors the rest of your life.
100%.
So scalability has more to do. The nonsense of scaling, which is a nonsense word in my opinion. I think it's a very important word, but I think it's been abused as much as ownership. People think, I got to scale and 10x and da-da-da. Is how soon are you and your company going to get better at teaching people how to do the things they need to do? That is the difference maker.
Continuously leveling up because every level has a new devil. I learned that from Dan Martell.
That's a great one.
Every level has a new devil. So the basketball player on the team, he's got to learn a skill set on how to be a captain.
Yep.
Then the captain has to learn a skill set to be an assistant coach, and then a coach, and then a general manager, and then an owner. And every level has different things that you can and cannot do. So as a captain, I can pull another player by the jersey and I can say, dude, step up. As a coach, I might be able to pull him aside and tell him step up. As a GM, I'm not pulling any players aside on the court. That's not my job at all. I'm staying out. I have to have a conversation later. So every level has different permissions and different opportunities. And I think what needs to be understood is, like in my company, there's certain things I don't do or say to certain people within the company because it would be breaking that line of leadership. So I would have to go to my person that I go to. He would have to go and do it to that person, even though I know it's faster if I just do it right now. And sometimes especially if it's a good, easy one, but if it's like a hard conversation, I need him to develop his ability to have those hard conversations, not mine with him. I have to have mine with him.
This is like super huge. I want to throw this thing out there to the audience at home right now. Number one is, I'll put it again, the standard is you definitely get the book. That's one thing I'm going to tell you. This is big. Number 2 is send me an email or comment down below if it's on YouTube or Spotify. Find a way to comment on this. Let us know if you want us to continue this conversation, because I'm going to see if I get Mike to come back and talk more about this, because I'm loving the learning and I believe the world needs to hear this. I think entrepreneurs are stressed, they're struggling, and it's going to be not an attractive thing for entrepreneurs if they don't solve this. So I believe this is a solution to keep entrepreneurship alive, because if we still keep on trying to do it ourselves and not training people and keep on training ourselves and pointing a finger and saying that they don't know how to do it and don't elevate, because at the beginning, it's learn how to sell it and make money.
Right.
Option 2 is teach other people how to sell it or lift it or flip it and make money.
100%.
And if we do not get better at leveling people and inspiring people and getting people to want to play bigger, get them to be hungry, get them to take ownership, get them to get results, we don't get a better world. But this book is also a book for a parent too. Because if we don't educate our kids in being hungry and wanting results in life, they're going to be living with us forever.
It's A-player, period.
It's A-player, which is world needs more A-players, period, to
100%.
get stuff out there. So any final thoughts before we close down? I don't say close down shop, because I think we're just getting started, because they're going to send a message out saying make things happen. Any other final thoughts, entrepreneurs out there? You want to like just look at them, tell them, what would you say to them? Because they're hearing you right now, like they're praising, they're happy you're here.
Yeah, more to the employees. So the entrepreneur, like, make this a weekly thing. My vision when I wrote this book is that people are going to read one chapter a day as a team on their own individually, and then come back in a meeting for 15 minutes and discuss. My team and I do that, and we enjoy it. But for the employee, just understand you've got a lot more control over your future when you work at a small company. You don't have that at a corporate company. I just don't think society's done a good job of teaching you how much control you actually have. And if you could just separate away from that and just focus on the stuff in this book, you can earn a lot more money. You can have a lot more opportunities. You can have a lot more fun. And the cool thing is, even if you don't stay at this company, the principles are now in you, and you could take that with you everywhere you go.
This is the principles to win in life.
Yeah.
Point blank.
Yeah.
Point blank. I love that. And then the thing I was going to say, I had a little trick I learned years ago. Someone, mentor of mine, taught me. They said, when you get the book, you sign it.
Yeah.
For your team. And you tell them, excited to be on this journey with them, blah, blah, blah.
That's pretty cool.
Number 2, this is sneaky. You go to a random page. I love the number 27 is my magic number. And right in the binding, you write here.
Go to 27. Curious. What's on 27?
That's my favorite number. 27, 25, 26, 27. That would be this page here. That would be the 13 rules A-players play by. That's crazy. So I'd go to this page, and right in the binding, I would write, call me when you get this far. Only leaders do what they said they're going to do. I have something for you. And you don't tell them it's in there. And when they find that and they come to you and say that, whether it's a Starbucks gift card or it's 30 minutes of your time or whatever, you now created what's called an Easter egg inside of your company. Wow. And they're looking for it forever. So I've been doing that for years. When I buy people books or I give them books, I literally will hide it somewhere in the book, like hidden. Close it, never tell them. Call me, put your cell phone number in there, put an email address, do something. Then they're going to be linking that they just got rewarded for doing the right thing, and now the company is super exciting. So you ever seen that before?
I haven't seen that. It's amazing. I'm stealing it, by the way.
Yeah, steal it. Yeah.
3
times. I want credit for the first 3 times, and then steal.
I did see something that was really cool. It reminded me of this. So Kevin Hart told this story about when he was broke, down on his luck. He needed money, and so he called his mom, and she goes, she's like, "Hey, so what's going on?" He said, "I'm broke, Mom. I need money. I'm struggling." And she goes, "Have you read your Bible?" And he's like, no. She's like, read your Bible. All the answers you need are in your Bible.
Truth.
And so he went back and maybe read a page or 2 and then called about 2-3 weeks later. He's like, Mom, I really need money. She's like, have you read your Bible? And she's like, no, I a little bit. She's like, go back and read your Bible. Everything you need is in your Bible. Went back, then called again 2-3 weeks later. And he goes, same thing. Mom, it's not about the Bible. I really need money right now. And she goes, read the Bible. So he starts reading the Bible. He finds a check in there for 3 months' rent.
That's awesome. Good for her. That's literally rewarding people for doing the right thing.
Right.
And when you create that excitement and then enthusiasm, because part of our job as an entrepreneur is to create some excitement, enthusiasm, get people wins, to feel like they're winning, and then show them how to do this stuff. But if we could get people to play as A-players, that's a secret to pretty much everything. Any final thoughts? Any final ideas?
No, man, I appreciate you having me.
This is great. I want to do this again. Like, I know they're going to reach out, and I will tell everybody, if you're watching this online, share this with an entrepreneur you care about. And I want you to think about, if you go to a local restaurant, you go to a deli. I'm from back east, I say deli. You know what I'm saying? You're dealing with a principal at a school that's run like an entrepreneur. Share this episode with somebody you care about. If you go to a gym, ask the gym owner, hey, have you heard this episode on Average Sucks? You know, I get this guy, Mike Arce, absolutely amazing. I believe that we as entrepreneurs need to share this information because we need to believe in entrepreneurship, keep capitalism alive, and really keep the idea that we can grow as teams together, because more A players in this world makes a better world, takes the stress off of people and gets them what they want. So share the episode, think of 3 people you care about it, put it in your phone right now. I never thought about this before. Put this right now, share this right now to yourself on your phone. And next time you see an entrepreneur, say, have you heard this episode? Share that with them and it'll create a great dialogue and maybe even a sale for you. So Mike, absolutely amazing.
Thanks,
love that
brother.
You're here. Love that your daughter's here today. And let's keep rocking.
You got it, man. Thank you.
All right, listen, let me take this opportunity right now. Congratulate you for living a life that screams average sucks. How do I know that? You're listening to this right now, and I can guarantee you're a person that wants more in life. So 1, congratulations, and 2, I bet you're looking for a shortcut. How do I get there quicker? How do I make this stick more? And since 2008, the fastest way that we've showed people how to become a person that lives a life that screams average sucks, and on top of that, become a person of influence and get what they want in this world, is our Core Live event. We've got one coming up very soon. The website is simple, michaelbernoff.com/Core Live. All the information, all the videos, and everything is there to find out more. And also an incredible early bird special to give you a big old discount. Again, michaelbernoff.com/Core Live, and I'm excited to see you there.